this jersey got going on here. This is my first time seeing it. I don't know anything about it.
First time I wore it, I said, you know what? I'm going to wear it on a little Potter, maybe grab some attention out there.
Part of the reason people aren't selling is because of the uncertainty, number one. Number two, if you got a great rate locked in, if you sell your property now, you're getting into something else at a higher rate, why would you sell?
That 550 and under range, based on our stats, is the price range that's really, really moving. Scotty, we're also seeing the high 8s, 9s million plus sales starting to creep back in a little bit. Am I right? You know, your boys always drive by that battery plant. That battery plant, well, she's looking nice out there,
it's
boy.
Massive. The opportunity here to jump into something that's making good returns right off the hop.
So a syndication is bringing in like-minded individuals that want to get those returns passively versus actively.
All right, Scotty, welcome back to another real estate podcast. I think that's the name. What do you think?
Is that the name? Yeah.
I think so. It's just call it what it is. Call it what it is. Everybody's doing the real estate podcast. So it's another real estate podcast about real estate and stuff like that. Speaking of stuff like that, Scotty, a treacherous week out there for you.
Treacherous week.
I mean, I tried to have a conversation with you yesterday and wasn't getting much back, and then to find out that the man was in an absolute terror zone.
Yeah, I was depressed.
Yeah.
And let this be warned. Basically, my Facebook got hacked. The theory is that a different website that I shopped on, let's say Under Armour or something like that, was hacked. They stole the email, stole the password, used some sort of bot to hack into my Facebook account because it was the same password. Took over the account. We're doing some suspicious stuff on there. Facebook shut it down because they have algorithms that catch that stuff. And then now it is gone forever. I don't think I can ever get it back. Facebook group gone, 2,700 followers on there. Just a nightmare. To be fair, I hadn't changed my password in like 10 or 15 years. So I'm definitely partially to blame. I got a little bit arrogant there, but also sharing the same password.
Were, that's good. You were pretty cocky with riding those passwords for a long time. We told you, like, don't ride these so long. And
you're telling me for years about that. And I said,
was it actually Under Armour that?
There's Anthony looked up some stuff, punched in my email address, and it showed what websites have been compromised with that email address or something like that. I don't know. He's a techie. I'm not. And that it could have been anything really, but that was just an example. So
another reason why Under Armour sucks. I hate Under Armour. I hate Under Armour.
Nike all the way.
Nike guy.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's talk about this jersey got going on here. This is my first time seeing it. I don't know anything about it.
First time I wore it, I said, you know what? I'm going to wear it on a little Potter, maybe grab some attention out there, and
it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little Detroit Vipers throwback, but the AW for you. The real estate group wrapped along the bottom, and then the team that we sponsored, the Cougars, right on the stick. This is a ball hockey team that I sponsored, and they actually, these a lot of these men on this team. We got Voy, Broderick, Balalo, O'Neill. These guys are in their 40s, approaching it or past it, and they went pretty deep last year. They got out of Windsor, went to the Ontarios, and didn't finish the job at the Ontarios, but from what I hear, had a great time nonetheless. So shout out to the Cougars, and shout out to Tim Gibbons designing another stellar jersey, the AWFU times Vipers.
Now, do you think if they had you on the team, they might have been able to finish the job?
You know what? I got them bad knees. They don't call me German knees for nothing. And you know what? Ball hockey, that's a no-no for me. Although I can ski. I'll have, which I figured out last year. And that's a lot of knee work right there. But I can play hockey, but not ball hockey. No way. Okay. It's impossible.
It was rhetorical. I didn't actually think they were.
Oh, sorry.
Now, what's with the number 8? Is that Kobe?
It is, but number 8 because it was the one that fit me.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's the one that fit me. I had a larger jersey, but
I'd probably just tell people it was Kobe, but
yeah. Number 8 because of Kobe, and who else is number 8 in hockey? It was maybe
many people.
Mark Howe, maybe Mark Howe.
Gordie Howe.
Gordie Howe's the son. Is that Gordie Howe's son? Anyways, so AWFU, Detroit Vipers, instant classic.
Is anybody else going to be able to get one of these, or is this?
No, they've all been dispersed. I think they're playing again this year. We'll get a picture of the team in the jerseys, and we'll put it up as our cover photo for this episode. How about that?
Love it. Absolutely love it. So, we got a special guest today, Dan Crosby, CEO of Canadian Protein and many other businesses, serial entrepreneur. But before we get to Dan, who's going to touch on a great investment opportunity in Phoenix, Arizona, we're going to update our market. which is, again, I mean, it's been pretty crazy. You had a listing this week on Rockwell. Let's touch on that. How did that play out?
Absolute mayhem over there. 115 going offers today. We're recording this on a Wednesday. Going offers today at 5 p.m. 115 private showings. Again, we are underpriced here on purpose because that is a strategy that works. Sellers out there, the hardest part is to explain to them the strategy and why we're listing at what we're listing, and to make sure that we don't focus on our list price, but we focus on our sell price 1 week later. That's the price we really want to focus on, because that's what is actually bringing us the results. So 115 private showings. Katrina had an open house there. I think there's over 100 people there. That's no fun. That's too many.
Tough.
That's too many people. But again, we're not complaining because we're bringing in the people for our seller. And then Luis represented there on Sunday, and well over 60 individuals at that too. So what does that tell us? I mean, 115 private showings. It's 115 buyers in around that 400 range. That 550 and under range, based on our stats, is the price range that's really moving. But Scotty, we're also seeing the high 8s, 9s million plus sales starting to creep back in a little bit. Am I right?
Yeah, same situation there. I've been in multiple offers on a couple of those recently. You're not getting 10, 12, 15 offers, but you might get 2, 3, or 4. And it's important to note that the lower end of the market fuels the mid-range, and then the mid-range fuels the upper range, right? People sell their house, they make $300,000-400,000, they take that $300,000-400,000, put it on $1 million home, and it becomes affordable. So the lower end fuels the upper end. That's why we first saw the lower end tick higher, and now we're seeing it filter into the other range.
I'm just thinking, if the market's like this, it's not like we're in the future and interest rates have come down a couple announcements. No, we're still at the high that they've been, and we're seeing this much action. I don't know. I'm no scientist, but when those rates come down, it's gonna be a bloodbath.
This goes back to we're in a structural housing shortage that will not be fixed. Like, in a best case scenario, it would take a decade. There's no chance of fixing it anytime soon. So we always talk about the demand for housing didn't change with higher rates. The affordability changed, and now that's come back into balance, and you're going to see the supply-demand imbalance play out. There is some news, however, that inflation report came in a little bit higher than expected. It hasn't cooled as much as they hoped for. That does leave the potential for another rate hike on the table, which would have a big impact on the market. So if you are thinking...
They wouldn't dare, would they?
Well, you know what? I'll call it 50-50, personally. Yeah. It's possible. It would be risky for them to do it. They put the whole economy at risk, obviously, and they put people...
The government wouldn't do that to us, would they? They said they wouldn't, though, Scott.
Yeah, well, we've learned not to believe what they say, to watch what they do. So it'll be very interesting to see. Obviously, if they raise hikes again, it's going to impact the real estate market, which makes right now a very interesting time to sell. If you are thinking of waiting till the spring or summer, you might be better off now. We don't know for sure, but
can't stress enough. Spring market is now, always starts now. If you're
we're kind of in it.
Yeah, if you're looking at selling, inventory is low. Inventory and all the way up to 401. Actually, we listen to a lot of podcasts on our spare time as well, and inventory low across the board, especially in the GTA. Right?
Absolutely,
especially in the GTA, and you'll see again, if those GTA prices, which we monitor pretty close, start to rise significantly, then our market starts to get busy a few months later.
Absolutely, yeah. Part of the reason people aren't selling is because of the uncertainty. Number one, number two, if you got a great rate locked in, if you sell your property now, you're getting into something else at a higher rate. Why would you sell, right? So it's going to keep inventory low for possibly for a while here, and we're not really seeing people fire selling their home. I've seen 1 or 2 bank sales in the past 6 months. So it hasn't come to that situation where people are, forced to get out. Even if they are, typically they have so much equity built up that, they're not really hurting that much. So
and
a lot of moving parts here.
And I haven't really seen or experienced the have to sell market yet, right? Where, listen, these rates are really, really affecting us, and we have to make a move to better ourselves and our family. Now, do I think that's going to happen? I do. But do I think most people should have enough equity in the home that they'll get out? Okay. But some may not. But I haven't seen but I do think it will happen.
Yeah, we're definitely not saying that that's off the table and won't happen. We don't know, but it's certainly possible. And with that much equity, and employment so strong,
Yeah.
the unemployment rate's at historical lows. You might be able to sell your house and pay your rent with that extra $200,000 that you just made, and your employment income and everything else. So we might not see these huge number of fire. So we might not see these huge number of fire sales anytime soon, but we will continue.
Employment's at what? About 5. Unemployment's at about what? 5%? Is that?
Yeah, something like that. Plus,
That's like zero because 5% of the people don't even want to work anyways. So
it's a good point.
that's like unemployment being at zero. And your boys always drive by that battery plant. That battery plant, well, she's looking nice out there,
it's
boy.
massive. Over 4 million square feet. It's insane.
That's a lot of square footage.
3,200 jobs that aren't even on the record yet. It's a massive game changer for Windsor. So
Great outlook.
a lot of catalysts here for sure. And not all markets are equal. If you're in the pre-construction condo market at $900K in Toronto, I'm a little bit more worried than I am in a $400 to $500K house in Windsor, Ontario, because we're the bottom of the market, right? So across Ontario. So now what's interesting, like transitioning into our next topic here, when the market gets tough, when the tide goes out, you see you swimming naked.
Yeah.
We just saw
Wasn't
Fair
me.
Square, the old Purple Bricks, the old Com Free, shut their doors.
Yeah.
And the business model, we run a real estate business here. Obviously, it's an expensive business to run.
Yep.
It takes a lot of, you have to have big marketing budgets and all this stuff. So when the market got a little bit tougher here, I just don't think they could compete. And what's your take on the Purple Bricks and the off market? How does it work?
I actually didn't mind having it in the marketplace. I thought it was a great option for people if they wanted to go that route. It's in an even playing field. I don't think it was the best option for someone to go to, but I'm actually surprised that it's shut down now because I've worked in the 08, 09, 10 market, and that's when Comfrey was actually, or whatever they were called at that time, probably the busiest because every single penny mattered because there was no equity in the home. So we would be on listing appointments all the time where it was that conversation would come up, and I was never intimidated by it back then because I knew it took a lot more marketing and a lot more effort to sell homes. So my response would be, listen, I understand where you're at. I understand every penny matters. Try that route. If it doesn't work, I'll be here right beside you
And
to
be
finally
clear,
bring it to market.
Com-free are these sites, basically you're selling the house yourself.
Yeah.
They're assisting you in putting it onto MLS. They don't really offer any guidance. A lot of times, I've dealt with these many times on the buy side where they're not being represented, right? So it's nice to bring your buyers there.
Our negotiating skills and our knowledge of the market and how we prep properties and how we guide every single client from beginning to end will garner a better result, even with the commission in there. Sometimes we fight over 1%, and we know that simple negotiation can pay for that 1% and some, of course. So, and again, the beauty of real estate is that you don't pay unless you get a result that you enjoy. Right. So all the effort that we put in, all the marketing, all the staging, all that stuff, it's all on our dime 9 times out of 10. And if the house doesn't sell, then that's on us. But we invest in these properties, most importantly, our time, our stages, our cleaners, storage boxes, all that stuff, because we're confident enough in our skills that the property is going to sell for, again, a price that's going to make the seller extremely happy.
Mm-hmm. I think people underestimate and undervalue the negotiation phase of these offers, and on the sell side and the buy side, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars a lot of time that are on the table that we often are either knocking it off for our buyers or getting that extra 10K plus for our sellers by just knowing how to navigate tough situations.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anyways, you can do anything yourself, right? You can hire whoever you want. You can hire somebody off Kijiji to, do your kitchen,
Yeah.
or you can hire professionals, and the results are probably going to be different depending on who you hire. So,
Guaranteed.
yeah, I thought it was interesting that it happened. I do agree it was surprising because they've been around for so long, but yeah.
And again, they usually thrive in more of a buyers/balanced market. I'm surprised they didn't shut down in a seller's market, because if you're using Fair Square in a seller's market, to me that was
The only way
a
it
terrible choice.
Yeah.
A terrible choice. The market will outperform that every single time. So a little bit surprising of when they shut the doors, but obviously it's if they can't survive in any market. You got to survive in every market. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. The times that I would deal with them, like I would call somebody, let's say my client was looking at something that was listed on there, I would call the agent representing the property, and the agent's like in Toronto.
Yeah.
They don't know the property. They don't know Windsor's market.
Yeah.
And they're handling the negotiation.
Those are
and I'm
worst.
like, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
you don't know anything that's going on here. You don't know that you could have gotten $25K extra here
Yeah, yeah.
off of me. Very interesting situation, but I think it's, what do you think about bringing Dan on?
I'm excited for this actually, because what, we've known Dan for a while now. He's no slug when it comes to real estate, and this is, of course, is a real estate first podcast. And you know what, it took him many years and transactions and vision to get to what he's doing right now. Still, going back to basics, but just applying it to a different field of real estate. I can't wait for him to explain exactly what this is, how we can present it to our database and our clients and our viewers, and just really present the opportunity, because it's pretty cool.
A lot of people are looking to put money to work right now in real estate, and it's with the rates jumping up, it's hard to get into the market. There's not a lot of multifamilies for sale, and if they are, they're overpriced or tenanted. So the opportunity here to jump into something that's making good returns right off the hop, nice cash on cash return, and have it professionally managed, and the deal's already found. I'll let him explain it further. And
let's take a trip to Phoenix, Arizona. Sounds good.
Love it.
All right.
Fancy.
All right, here we are. Dan, first of all, congrats, baby number 4.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, I always said I got 3 myself, and I always said those who have 4, they just start. They're like a collector.
Is it any different, right? At the end of the day, probably not.
No, you know what? So congrats.
Yeah,
And
thanks, buddy.
everybody's
Appreciate
happy, everybody's healthy, and all that
Everybody's good.
stuff.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So this is a syndication investment. I guess let's start at the start. And what exactly is a syndication investment?
Yeah, so a syndication is bringing in like-minded individuals that want a little bit more of a passive style of investment, but arguably the same or better returns that you would get in your local market, or really the biggest comparison is being able to get those returns passively versus actively. And that's why I ended up putting this together, because I am a local investor here as well, and I've found that it's been very difficult to get those type of returns, locally, even active.
Yeah.
So it was a natural transition for me from, you mentioned earlier that you started in the the 2008 crash, or around there. You were working through it, and that's when I started as well. And back then I remember buying stuff for my first investment was in the Goyle building.
Yeah.
And I remember buying condos in there for 24,000, 50,000, even on like the top floors, 2 beds, right facing RenCen.
Yeah.
And that's when you could buy something that you didn't really have to touch and get a respectable return.
Yeah.
Right. And that slowly graduated to, okay, well, the market's changing a little bit. Now I've got to put a little bit of lipstick on it. And then that graduated to, okay, now I got to rip it down to the studs a little bit, do a little bit of a bigger, reno. Then it was complete gut jobs. Then it was, okay, well, housing doesn't work anymore really to get those type of returns that I was used to and wanted. So then I went to industrial properties, and then it was only industrial properties. You just buy it, rent it, done. Then it was industrial properties that needed a lot of work. So then I go in there, rehab the industrial properties.
So
And
you're,
that
kind, you're,
stopped
you're kind of
working.
taking the residential game plan and applying it to the industrial.
It's all
at
the
this
same
point.
thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that real estate's a little bit different across different platforms of investment styles, but it's not. It's the same.
Right.
It's the same practice. And then that stopped working. Then I was like, well, where am I going to go to get these type of returns that I wanted? Because I'm not okay with buying things at, 2, 3, or 4 caps, right? So,
that's a great point.
Yeah.
Some people are, because the market's not presenting them with better opportunities, they say, well, I guess I'll take this 4 cap
exactly, yeah.
in a crappy location
Yeah.
where you're stuck with tenants that you won't be able to get rid of for
Yeah.
potentially years. So instead of accepting the mediocre returns,
Yeah.
as you've done from the start, you just pivot to the next thing, which
Exactly.
is U.S. large multifamily. Now let's talk about why you haven't purchased any large multifamily, let's call it 10 plus units, anywhere in Canada, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. So really,
And sorry, real quick, you own a couple hundred
Yeah.
doors
Yeah.
in Canada. None of them are 10 plus doors because
so there's a few factors why. Number one, whatever is or hits the market that's at scale, I don't want to own. It's not worth owning. It's complete garbage. I don't want to touch it. And then there's another factor where the majority of property to scale in Canada is owned by large institutional, REITs, pension funds, insurance funds, things like that. So whereas in the States, it's flipped. About 80% is owned by private investors, either held privately or in a corporation or whatever the case is. So you have the ability to, you have liquidity, a lot of liquidity in the States. And then you also have the 1031 exchange in the US that allows a lot of property to still hit the market without being restricted. You're really restricted here in Canada, to be quite honest. That's why a lot of these type of properties, when you see all these large multifamily properties in Canada and Windsor, whatever, they rarely hit the market. They don't hit the market because if they hit the market, you're getting taxed. So they would rather refi it or keep it long term. But the problem with even buying those large scale multifamilies, I remember there was this one on Riverside that I was looking into. It was a 131 or 2 unit property. Wow. And do you remember this one that came out? It hit the market with JLL.
I remember that one. I remember. Yep.
And the markets were significantly under market rate. And
the rents.
What?
The rents were
the rent or the rent was significantly under market. And I remember going through this property. Everything was on 1 meter, electrical, gas, everything, water. Everything was on. It was a dump. Yeah. It was an absolute dump. And the rents were so low that the building made no sense. I remember looking for lending on that particular property, and I would have to put 60% down, and the building traded for $25.6 million. So the price per unit...
Did that end up selling?
It did, yeah.
It did, eh?
Yeah, and to an institution. So and it's going to take probably 10, 15 years to get those people out of there. And then you're going to have a lot of people that are, maybe you get, you apply the, rent eviction or whatever, but the majority of those people are going to come right back. And I've had that happen. I've renovated and tried to get people out with the rent eviction, option, and they come right back. They know the system.
When your rent is $600 and market
exactly,
rent
they know.
is $1,500, you're coming back.
A little bit different, and you're coming back to a renovated unit.
That's
you
exactly.
have to offer that back to them.
Well.
Now,
Exactly.
a little bit different rental game in the States. Am I right?
Oh, big time. Yeah. So
It's almost like would it be like commercial here, or even
kind of
more similar? Yeah,
it's more similar to commercial. Yeah, I mean, I'm only buying in for Coachwood Capital, which is the syndicate company here that I have in the States. I'm only buying in areas that, number one, you're not restricted with respect to rent control. So we're all invested in the North Miami property, right? The North Miami Beach property. Those rents, within 1 year, I've increased them by 40%.
Right.
That has increased the buildings or the property's value by somewhere between, depending on where the market cap is gonna land, depending on what happens in the local market there. But it'll land. That means that'll translate into somewhere between $3 to $4 million of gain within 1 year. On an $8 million purchase price, we're looking at somewhere between $11 to $12 million of current value on that property right now, only because we were able to move the rent so far, so fast, because in the States, in certain areas, not all areas, but the majority of areas, you're able to increase rents regardless if someone moves out or not.
Yeah, and that's
once the lease expires.
So you do a great job of examining the market, understanding that population is growing, rents are rising quickly. By the time a year goes by after we buy this property, we're going to be able to raise these rents by 25% a unit, 35% a unit.
Yeah.
It actually went up more than we thought. And
Yeah.
then now, if you saw the same thing here in Ontario, let's say Windsor's blowing up, you got the new battery plant. I'm going to buy this 25 unit building. And the rents are going to be up 25% next year because you did a great job of research. You can't get the rents up
Yeah, you can't touch
more
it.
than the government allows you to. You are going to be a decade plus before you can get that building up to speed, which means you're buying it probably something that doesn't make any money.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to have any cash flow, which is why you started this syndication company in the States. And I know for myself as an investor, the States is the big leagues. That's where I want to put my money. Right. You've got the best cities in the world.
Yep.
You've got world class cities like Miami and Phoenix, Arizona, and Scottsdale, and New York, and all these amazing cities. You can't get that type of stuff here. You can't get the weather here, the ocean front, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why we started in the States. Let's talk a little bit about Phoenix, Arizona opportunity in particular. Let's talk about the return on investment. We're having a hard time finding cash flow here right now in Windsor. A year or two ago, it was no problem when rates were 2%.
Can you even cash flow right now with if you're just putting 20%? Like, how do you find that? Like,
Can't. It doesn't work.
And if you are, the cash on cash return ends up being 3-4%.
So it makes this even more attractive. Is that like with the mortgage rates right now? Like, how do you even cash flow? Like, you can't here. I mean,
you can't.
I'll tell you what. If I found something locally that hit the returns that we're looking at on Phoenix, which is an 8.5% average cash on cash return, 250+% projected 5-year return on investment, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
Right. I have, money available to go and buy something. I just can't find something to buy.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to put my money to work. We have this opportunity here. Talk a little bit about the projected returns, and also touch on people are afraid of rising rates. Touch on how the debt is fixed here, and that kind of eliminates the risk there.
Yeah. So basically, with respect to this particular property, we're looking at an 8.5% cash on cash. It's actually a little bit higher, but rounding down, 8.5% cash on cash return, averaged over 5 years. A total return on investment of somewhere around 250 to 270% is the target. And I mean, those are simple factors of, number one, we're getting a property that was completely renovated down to the studs, even lower. They
looks pretty nice.
They actually, they redid everything. Like, everything is brand new. So we're getting basically a brand new property for a not brand new construction price. We're looking at interesting debt instruments over in the States that allow people to get into these properties with still allowing them to have the returns that justify buying. The banks are really interesting in the States, and it's a combination of competition. We only have so many registered banks in Canada, and when you don't have that much competition, it really restricts the market, right?
Yeah, for sure.
When you're looking at the States, you have hundreds, if not thousands, of banks that compete with each other, and in some instances, when rates even move from the Feds over in the States, interest rates will actually come down. Simply based off of competition, and in order to allow the banks to still, earn, because the banks only make money when they lend money. So if people aren't,
if the demand
going
goes
after
down
lending,
for loans, they gotta cut.
They gotta make money somehow. So they're not gonna. They introduce very, competitive and very attractive new products like interest only, full term. We all know that for the first at least even decade, you're barely even paying down principal. So if you're moving the property, or if you have any plans to move the property within, a decade, why wouldn't you go interest only? It makes no sense. Even
I'll tell you why, because you can't do it here, right? Like,
Exactly.
I haven't seen that product offered.
Exactly. The only time you can go interest only is with private debt. And private debt, you're looking at double-digit interest rates, and that doesn't work either. So,
or just hit your trigger rate.
Exactly. So,
I'm interest only on everything.
yeah, exactly. Right. So,
not by choice, though.
Yeah, exactly. So you have really you're really restricted with the type of products that are being offered by the lenders in Canada, whereas in the States you have a lot more choice. You have a lot more aggressive lending options. Even in Canada, a lot of people ask me, like, I'll touch on what you mentioned about, rental restrictions and things like that. People will always argue, well, you can get rental restrictions in like, I can't even remember like PEI or like Saskatchewan. And I'm like, well, like, I don't want to go there. I just don't want to go there.
The catalysts aren't
it's not,
there, right?
It's not an attractive market for me. I don't hear like, oh, PEI. Let's go check out the properties in PEI. Like, that's not what I don't want to go there.
Taiwan Semiconductor is opening a chip manufacturing facility in
Oh,
PEI.
for
Like,
real?
it's not happening.
Oh,
It's
their
not
place in
happening.
Newfoundland is sick.
Like it's
Right.
not, and nothing against, other parts of our country, but at the end of the day, it's
On
not
an
there's not-
international scale, those cities aren't top tier, right?
Like, look at
Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah,
is.
when I was there qualifying this property, qualifying the property and the submarket and everything, the Barrett Jackson auction was going on, which is the biggest car auction in the world.
Yeah.
The Waste Management golf tournament was going on, and the Super Bowl was there. So like,
heard
what are
of
we
that.
talking about here?
Are you
Why
talking
am I
about
going to
PEI? Is it PEI?
exactly? You see what I mean? Like, there's a reason why those things
Yeah.
or those businesses or those
Events,
events
yeah.
set up shop in certain cities like that.
Now let's talk a little bit about the fundamentals of Phoenix, Arizona. Let's talk population growth. Let's talk about Taiwan Semi, the new Phoenix, Arizona Coyotes Arena, and this location, how close it is to downtown. Touch on all that. Like, you didn't just pick this building and be like,
No.
oh, let's buy this, right? Like, there's a lot of research that goes into something like this.
Yeah, rents are moving significantly. Actually, they're building less units, or what they call absorption rate is there's more people that need rentals than they're being built. So that's called the absorption rate. There's more people absorbing the rentals than there are coming online.
One of the key metrics.
Exactly, one of the key metrics. I think there was a stat that came out that Phoenix, Arizona is 20,000 rentals short for what they need going into 2025. So that won't be adjusted or fixed anytime soon. The property itself is 5 to 10 minutes, depending on what time of day, to downtown Phoenix. Without the downtown Phoenix rental rates, which is very attractive to people.
It's the sweet spot.
Major, like Scott was saying, the Taiwan Semiconductor, coming online.
One of the biggest chip manufacturers
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah, which is right in
thousands
its
of
backyard.
jobs.
Right in its
Thousands of
backyard.
high-paying jobs.
You've got 4 hospitals within almost walking distance of the property that employ thousands of people. You've got Sky Harbor International Airport that employs 57,000 people, which is an economic driver for the submarket of 269,000 jobs within a 7-minute drive from the property. That's just the employment. And obviously, we all know that airports are big drivers for tourism as well. So you have probably some of the strongest fundamentals of real estate within a 10-mile radius of this property. You almost can't come up with better fundamentals than where this property is located. It's like the perfect storm. You
Yeah.
also have population growth within the next, on a per year basis, of 2%. So within a 5-year span, you have double-digit population growth, which is huge.
Yeah.
That rarely actually even happens.
Big time. That's
Yeah.
you looked at 1,000 properties.
Yeah.
This one stands out for
Exactly.
those metrics.
Yeah.
And when you get population growth, limited supply, that leads to higher rents.
100%.
Right? Higher rents lead to the value of this building being increased significantly. And when you run your numbers here and get these estimated returns, they're conservative. Right?
Yeah.
You're not plugging in 20% rent growth.
Yeah,
That
no.
would be asinine.
Yeah.
You're plugging in, average 3%,
Yeah.
which is what
3%,
happened.
yeah, 3%, 1% expense increases.
Love it. And on Miami, we did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
We're plugging in conservative numbers. Now, those, because the fundamentals are so strong,
Yeah.
we thought there's a good chance it goes 10%, 15%. We're not going to bet on it, but
Yeah.
so there's a very good chance that this happens here. Because we've done the background research,
Yeah.
there's a good chance that these rents jump 10, 15% over
Yeah.
the coming years.
For sure.
Annually.
Yeah.
Because, the average rent here is what, 1,600?
About that,
unit?
1630.
If you took that building and put it in Windsor, Ontario, those rents would be 2,400.
Yeah.
Probably. They're massive, 2-bedroom units.
Yeah, they're huge.
Dan did a video walkthrough of the property. If anybody's interested, reach out, get this video. It's beautiful. Great location, all that stuff. So, I can easily see those rents jumping 7, 8, 9, 10% compound annually for the
Yeah.
holding period, right? So,
Yeah, for sure.
Very, very strong fundamentals here. Taiwan Semi, the Arizona Arena.
Oh, the Coyotes,
Coyotes
the new
arena,
arena,
you didn't even
yeah,
mention
going
that.
up, yeah.
I mean,
And
these
I
are
think a
massive.
lot of people a lot of investors don't want to be landlords, right? They don't want to have the headaches. They don't want to worry about tenants. I think the biggest worry that we get from people that, I mean, we try and get people to keep their houses if they've bought with me in 09, 10, 11, 12, 13, I'm trying to get you to keep your house, refi it, and go put that as a down payment of your new house and create some wealth for you. But their biggest kickback is, well, I don't want to be a landlord. What if they ruin it? This, that, the other. This is an investment opportunity and structure that's built for a certain type of investor. I know for me, being in the Miami deal, it's perfect. I found out that it was doing great the other day by talking to a friend of mine that's in it as well. I said, "How's Miami doing?" He goes, "It's great. This is that the other thing. Fantastic, right? I don't have to worry about a thing."
Yeah.
And you're able to invest in, again, a world-class city. So how do you invest in this? Who's it for? And what are why is it offered to certain people or everybody?
Yeah, so basically the person that it's for is exactly who you explained. It's specifically for that person that wants a more passive approach to owning real estate, right? But at the same time too, it's not give me your money and you'll never hear from me again, right? We're introducing some things that if you want, you could essentially learn from us. Right, so we're kind of we're starting to get a little bit more involved with the investors that want to come on board with us, because the feedback that we're getting is, yeah, this is all great and everything, but man, I really wish I could learn from your experience and learn from what's going on. And we're going to be starting to put something in place where that can happen for our investors.
Yep.
Big or small, doesn't matter how much you invest. We want to bring something a little bit extra to the table that will even further differentiate us and turn this into more of an educational investment where, maybe in the end, somebody wants to, go on their own,
right,
and take the principles that they've learned from us and apply it themselves. Maybe that's the case, or maybe they're simply purely interested in what's going on and how I've done what I've done, or even maybe built the portfolio that I have locally, which I will also touch on and let people know about. But this is something that I want to even further differentiate with the group of investors that we bring on board. But yeah, this is something that is more for the investor that doesn't want to assume the risk, doesn't want to assume the responsibility, doesn't want to deal with the headaches. I deal with it.
Now let's so just so you know the level of the level of research that goes into these deals. So from Miami, I mean, how many hours? And it's not just like, oh, we got Miami, that's doing good.
No.
Let's go buy Phoenix. No, I'm sure there's deals that
Yeah.
you've written on that just didn't make sense, or they got pretty deep on, and then when you're plugging in the numbers, or there's just something that sticks out, your gut may
Yeah.
tell you something different.
Yeah.
How many hours are then let's use Phoenix as the example.
Yeah.
How many hours were put into Phoenix before it's prepared and presented for investment?
Are we talking about everything?
Everything.
We're probably
by the time it reaches my table to say we're open, we're looking for investors, we've secured the property, and I'm talking about the ones that you didn't secure, the ones that just didn't fill. So from beginning to end, and Phoenix as the example, how many hours are we looking at here?
So by the time North Miami closed to now bringing Phoenix online,
Yep.
It's hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Now I've had probably maybe
This is physically going there.
this includes
Yeah.
going there.
Yeah.
So I've been to 2 other properties prior to Phoenix that didn't work out.
Right.
Actually 3. Physically going there, that's plane tickets, hotels. I don't bring anything to market unless I physically go there, qualify the submarket, qualify the market. I want to go there. I feel like I feel like the reason why I've built the portfolio locally that I've been able to build is because I have a really good gut feeling. And that is, I feel, my greatest asset. It's not necessarily even the ability to underwrite.
Huge.
Underwrite properties or
that's
submarkets.
Experience and just the gut feeling, I think, for anybody who's in business is that one thing that just
sure.
can't be taught.
So hundreds of hours to present this, but that's not just hundreds of hours. That's 100,000 hours leading up to this. The skill, the experience of running multiple successful businesses, a massive real estate portfolio of 300 plus units probably now.
With these ones, yeah.
And that all leads to this. And I think a lot of times you present this to market and people forget everything that led up to it. And then you're a little bit suspicious when, hey, I don't really know Dan personally, or I haven't worked with him personally. But this is a significant qualification process here. Yeah. And it looks simple when you present it at an 8.5% cash on cash return. Yeah. But yeah, let's not get it twisted. This is massive.
Yeah.
Effort.
Again, that was 300 units, right? 300, that's that. I mean, that's hard to do. It's hard to manage. It's. I remember going to your factory, and I'm just like, what? Like, remember the garbage cans, right? I'm like, it's got like 80 garbage cans just laying. I'm like, who orders these? Like, who's responsible for the garbage cans, right? So it's just a lot of stuff to dial in. And again, when it's presented to you, it's presented and secured for a reason, because it's the next one
for sure,
right? And now we've got a baseline with Miami. That is doing fantastic. Am I right? My friend tells me it's doing great.
That's the
type of investor I don't give a shit. I don't care. Just I trust the project. I trust the people who are in it, and let's rock it. It's working out. So this is.
I got my own personal money into it, right?
Of course,
and I don't make money on the deal unless the property actually makes money. It's all performance based.
Yeah,
it's only performance based at the end. Throughout the whole entire the whole period, I don't make a dime.
Yeah.
So you better believe I'm going to do whatever I can for that property to make as much money as I can, so that when it's time to sell it, I can actually make money along with all the investors.
Because a lot of time put in, but you're going to get a great return for that.
Exactly.
Time.
And it's only really about being paid back.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about even making the money, because even at the highest level of the new Phoenix deal, the split at the end is 90-10. If everybody came in for 90-10, I'm losing money. Right. So you better believe that the reason why I'm doing all this is for me to scale my own capital and to build the fund bigger and pool as many like-minded individuals as I possibly can. That's the greater goal here. It's not about
great question. So I think we've got a couple minutes left here, but what's the end goal here? Like what's the drive? What's the passion here? What's the inspiration?
We want a $1 billion fund. We want a group and a pool of like-minded individuals that want to pool all their capital, learn from each other, and grow this fund to be a juggernaut in the country. And with doing it in a different way with cool people. That's the goal. That's the goal here.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah. And I want to make a ton of money. End of story.
Straight up.
That is it. That's what we're here for, right?
We're not doing God's work out here at the end of the day. So, Scott, if they want more information on it, I think we've got a whole package that's been shared with us. Contact either myself, Scott, Dan direct. We don't care. But if you want some more information on it, we can sit down with you, go through everything one-on-one. Always, we've got a whole presentation for it. And if you want to get in on this opportunity, again, it works, and it's exciting, and it's just a cool option to invest in, and really a no-brainer, right?
World-class real estate. Yeah, coachwoodcapital.com if you want to fill out a soft commitment form. Obviously, no commitment there, but it'll at least get you on our list, and we can send you the package and all that, or reach out to any of us individually. So, that's signing off. Thanks, Dan, for joining us on Another Realtor podcast.
Another real estate podcast.
Okay, let's hear it.
Thanks, guys.